British fashion designer John Galliano is known as the bad boy of fashion and is one of the fashion industry's most creative and talented but controversial designers. And he was at the highest echelons of the fashion world as the creative director of Christian Dior. However, following his anti-Semitic remarks whilst inebriated, he was fired from Dior and his career seemed like it would remain a permanent distant memory. That is until he made a much anticipated return to fashion as the creative director of Maison Margiella, where he oversees the designs of all Margiela lines, including couture and women's ready-to-wear lines. His return from quote-unquote to exile captivated the fashion world as they waited to see what his comeback would look like. He debuted his first show for Margiela during Paris Couture Week, where his showmanship was on full display and his outfits were scrutinized. We're going to get into this and so much more, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on videos like this. Let's take a closer look. Living and studying in London in his early years, where he became enamored with historical costume, his art school teachers said that John Galliano had natural design ability and that he obsessively researched details, and they believed that he would become one of the fashion greats that could one day revolutionize the way women would want to dress. His graduation collection from St. Martin's School of Art, entitled Les Incroyables, was inspired by the French Revolution and was bought in its entirety for sale by Brown's, an exclusive London boutique. He quickly started his own fashion label, working with long-term collaborators Amanda Harleck and Stephen Jones. With a limited budget, he designed follow-up collections to his Les Incroyables set, and although he was praised as a star talent, he was also questioned by the British press for being wacky, deliberately freakish, and self-consciously theatrical due to his early shows where he pushed the boundaries with theatrics, such as showering the audience with talcum powder and featuring dead fish, which stunned the fashion audience. In an attempt to obtain financial backing, Galliano produced 6 collections, the first being the 1985 Autumn-Winter show for London Fashion Week, titled The Ludic Game, which featured an intense take on the modernisation and remoulding of traditional garments, and was named the British Fashion Council Designer of the Year in 1987. After a number of failed attempts to secure financial backing, he relocated to Paris to debut his first Paris Fashion Week show in 1989. After a number of false starts with regards to agreements with financial backers, by the early 90s he was twice bankrupt and sleeping on the floor of his friend's apartment in Paris. Without any significant financial assistance, Galliano was able to stage an impressive 1994 spring-summer collection. He created a romanticized fictional story of Princess Lucretia's escape from her Russian nobility. Models were dressed in couture-inspired outfits as they hurriedly ran down the runway. John Galliano's inability to find a secure and permanent financial backer finally came to an end with the help of American Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour and Andre Leon Talley, the then European correspondent at Vanity Fair. Anna Wintour, who had attended the Princess Lucretia show and became enamored with the designer, became aware of Galliano's financial struggles. She commissioned for Galliano to have a large editorial for the Lucretia collection, which was seen in the March 1994 issue of Vogue. She also flew him to New York and arranged meetings with wealthy potential financial backers. Fashion journalist and powerhouse Andre Leon Talley introduced Galliano to the socialite Sol Schlumberger, wife of Pierre Schlumberger, a billionaire oil magnate. They enabled Galliano to use their 17th century Parisian hotel to host his next show, the 1994 Autumn-Winter collection, one of the defining moments of Galliano's career. The couture show was by far the most commercial show for Galliano at the time and immersed him further into the corporate aspects of the fashion industry, where he received significant financial backing from a venture capital firm called Payne Webber and executives John Bort and Mark Rice, who after seeing tapes of Galliano's show gave him over $50,000 to help with his endeavours. In 1995, Galliano was appointed to replace Hubert de Givenchy, the founder of the House of Givenchy, as its creative director by President of LVMH Bernard Arnault, And in 1995, for the third time and second consecutive year, he was named British Designer of the Year. His appointment to Givenchy made Galliano the first British designer to head a French haute couture house in history. Galliano revealed his first couture collection for Givenchy in January 1996, featuring stunning ball gowns, bow dresses, and belted suits. However, his time at Givenchy was short-lived, as he was replaced by fellow British designer Alexander McQueen after just one season. In October 1996, LVMH moved Galliano to Dior and bought Galliano's company. Bernard Arnault, head of LVMH, which owned both Givenchy and Dior, hoped that Galliano would attract a young clientele to Dior's couture and ready-to-wear lines. And John Galliano remained the Dior lead designer from 1996 to 2010. Galliano brought a fresh look to Dior, including matching jackets with padded shoulders and ankle-length skirts, and was more provocative than Givenchy. For instance, in 1997, he sent Naomi Campbell down the runway as part of the Autumn-Winter 1997 couture show in a gilded ensemble. He grew sales at Dior by 50% in his first year there and continued to see strong financial performance during his tenure. In 1997, he won both Council of the Fashion Designers of America's International Designer of the Year and British Fashion Awards British Designer of the Year. His time at Dior was iconic: the bias cut, the Nefertiti couture collection, the saddlebag, and his iconic couture pieces. Under Galliano, Dior dominated fashion's reporting thanks to the spectacle of his shows and the commerciality of his creations. In pop culture, Sarah Jessica Parker's character Carrie Bradshaw wore John Galliano's iconic newspaper dress on the set of Sex and the City 2. New York rapper Foxy Brown was famously a muse for the Dior Spring-Summer 2000 collection, and Gwen Stefani sang about cleaning out Vivienne Westwood in her Galliano gown in her song Rich Girl, which I previously did a video about. Some of John Galliano's notable works include the Spring-Summer 2003 couture collection, which was inspired by Chinese and Japanese cultures, which he would go on to reference in future collections, and the Christian Dior Spring 2004 couture collection, which was inspired by his tours of Egypt in a hot air balloon, dubbed the Nefertiti collection. It stunned the fashion world. The pieces were gilded, featuring gold leaf, crystal-encrusted jewellery, metallics and coral beading, with reference to Nefertiti and King Tut, hieroglyphics and tomb paintings. The show began with Erin O'Connor in a gold outfit with massively overblown cuffs, painted face, and a huge empress headdress. Galliano worked what he called the Sphinx line: elongated, tight, attenuated, but crossed with elegance. And for the Autumn-Winter 2005 show, he illustrated an airy romanticism using Edwardian themes and robust silhouettes. And he designed pieces for celebrities and royalty, including Princess Diana, Nicole Kidman, and Giselle. In February 2011, Galliano was accused of anti-Semitism after he made an anti-Semitic rant in a Paris bar whilst inebriated. Recordings of previous anti-Semitic insults also emerged. He went into rehab for drink and substance abuse and later apologized for his comments. In the following months, he was fired by Dior and his John Galliano fashion house, and in September 2011, he was found guilty of making public insults based on origin, religious affiliation, race or ethnicity, and received a suspended sentence. For the next 2 years, Galliano was largely shunned by the fashion community and retreated from the fashion world, although he did design Kate Moss's wedding dress in 2011. Galliano's decline was not just attributed to him losing his reputation within the fashion industry, but also the confidence others had in him, including those that had vouched for him early on in his career, such as Anna Wintour. Further blows occurred in 2013 when he lost all licensing to his namesake branding for Dior's couture collections, with several legal battles occurring in the 2 years after the incident in Paris. Galliano was essentially fired from his own brand name, which was owned by the LVMH group. In 2013, he began his comeback. Once again, Anna Wintour offered Galliano a career lifeline. She reportedly negotiated for him to return back to the fashion industry as a backstage advisor for Oscar de la Renta. He collaborated on Oscar de la Renta's autumn-winter collection, and despite facing multiple court hearings with Dior at the time, Galliano's assistance to the late Oscar de la Renta was successful and shone through. And in mid-2013, Galliano gave his first televised interview after being fired from Dior. He expressed a desire for a second chance in the fashion industry, and in late 2014, that second chance came when the parent company, OTB or Only the Brave, that owns Maison Margiella, named John Galliano as the new creative director of the fashion house. After his spectacular fall from grace, John Galliano's first collection for Maison Margiella was eagerly anticipated. Fashion fans used the hashtag Margiela Monday to count down the days to the London show. The show was staged in a London office block with shiny steel tiled floors with a clinical and avant-garde deconstructed aesthetic. The theme of the pieces were fun, imagination, and the idea of making fashion out of found objects, in line with the Margiela style, but still very Galliano. For his 2023 co-ed show, he infused a theatrical spectacle often seen during his couture shows for the brand's artisanal showpiece line. Held in the mirrored rooms of the house's new headquarters, Galliano imagined a Bonnie and Clyde progeny embarking on a gothic tale with cinematic characters, theatrical props and stunts across the 5 floors of the brand's headquarters. The show featured an amalgamation of Americana through the lens of punk motifs. Maison Margiela is one of the most important brands for the OTB group, the house's parent company, and last year sales rose by 24%. A creative and controversial designer, John Galliano has had a career that has spanned decades and has been highly decorated by the fashion industry. A documentary on the highs and lows of John Galliano by Kevin MacDonald was recently announced and shows that as his career ascended, his grip on a former humble reality, born in Gibraltar and raised in South London, loosened with private jets, a superstar lifestyle, and reportedly a personal assistant to light cigarettes, followed by a descent into alcohol and substance abuse, and his subsequent fall from grace and bounce back from what he called exile. He recovered from his fall from grace and continues to be influential in the fashion community. Let me know your thoughts on John Galliano in the comments section below, and check out my videos on Vivienne Westwood and Marc Jacobs. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. This is Bookstore Business, drinking the knowledge.